This video is powered by LearnToPlay.live, the only hardware synth performance course. Register now and enjoy 40% off. Hey, what's up? I'm Analog Kitchen and thank you for checking out yet another video. Now, if this is your first time here, don't hesitate to click subscribe and hit that notification bell. Whenever I upload a new video, you'll be kept in the loop and you'll not miss out on anything. Stick around till the end of this video. I will tell you all about patreon.com/analogkitchen, where you can find a community of like-minded synth enthusiasts that can help you if you have more questions than answers, which I think is never a good thing, and you can get closer to me. I'm also doing a few gigs in the direct future. Next week I'm playing at Club Reese, and the 9th of August I'll be in Italy for Visioni Festival, which is cool, an immersive festival of sound and vision. And Tuesday it's about time to do our first LearnToPlay.live webinar. That's also going to be very amazing. Now, I promised you that I was going to get into how this set actually worked. First thing I'm going to do is play something with the Poly Cinematic here. It's very dreamy because of the reverb, so I'm building up. So what I've done is on my modular, that Nano Instruments 808 is playing the hi-hats. On the 1010 black box, which is in the bottom left, say next to the black sky, there's actually a vocal bit that does that hypnotic thing, and I'm building up some sort of a sequence that starts here. 1, 2, 3, different chord, inversion, back to C, turn it around again, go up, and again, and back to the same chord. So this is something that I thought of. I didn't really think it through. It just came into my mind and I'm thinking, okay, this is cool. Let's record it in. So now on the RK008, the little calculator in the center, I'm going to press record and record it. Boom, here we go. So I'm actually now recording this sequence. And now that I'm happy, let's turn off the RK008. Why I'm pressing the button 3 times, it's a big mystery. Anyway, I've got my sequence recorded, play around with the length and with the reverb on the Poly Cinematic. Now it's time to add in more drums. Boom. And for context, I'm actually pressing that controller with the black and the red knob sitting underneath the modular, but that's the controller, MIDI fighter, that is controlling the 1010 black box. All the knobs are corresponding to cells on the 1010 black box on which I've got samples ready to launch. Now the MIDIs, the music, is something I can play live or I can program ahead of time. When it comes to groove and the sounds, I will create them on a DAW. So I'm a hybrid producer. I will go and work on my DAW to create these little jigsaw puzzles that will work. Frequency hierarchy is very important to also keep in mind. How do you set these things together? When it comes to the drums that I'm using right now, the groove, these top loops that you're hearing, there's 3 things that I think of: direction, groove, and cadence. This is the 3rd top loop, and it all needs to fit like a jigsaw puzzle, like I said. So this bottom loop, that's my cadence. It's something that makes you want to dance. The direction is the afterbeat. It's the first loop that I play. It's an upbeat, so it makes you want to listen to the groove again. And then the shaker does the groove. Now I just added in an arpeggio. This is also strategically done because listening to what I've played long notes for the intro to get everybody's attention, but at some point I need to double up the groove, speed up what's being played. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, I need to it needs to go a little bit faster. Let's switch it up and go even faster here. So now you can hear how more groove is being added by playing more notes. And then taking out the longer notes that are really giving you that smooth, hypnotizing vibe. Really cool. And to emphasize this theme, let's add in the bass. Coming from the mini tower, which in terms of bass is the best bass synthesizer it's out there. Now when it comes to learn-to-play.live, obviously we're gonna teach you how to do this stuff. And you can only use one synthesizer, one drum computer. You don't need a whole setup. That's exactly how we're going to teach you. And we will help with that. Nice. Now that you know that you're in the groove and you're moving, now I can add these long notes back in. And again, on this little mini lab, I'm actually using mute. So I can mute the tracks that are being played on my 008, the small calculator. There's 8 tracks of MIDI that I can use. But now it's time to add in another hi-hat. And of course, to make it a little bit more exciting, I'm using the filter, the frequency cutoff filter on the mini tower. And the icing on the cake is going to be a surprise that not a lot of people are going to expect. I'm going to add in a nice hypnotic vocal. Now we're going to transition. I turned off the mini tower, playing around with a little bit of a vibe of a different module, the Erica Synth Percons. So taking out the arpeggio and focusing on adding in the defab. I'm making room to add in another sound. So this bass line is monophonic. It stays on the same root note, and there's my kick drum. Ah, nice. So the battering ram, which is a kick drum by Shackman, that's where the kick is coming from. I'm actually going to tweak it a little bit. So now playing around with the DFAM here, and it makes sense. As you can hear, I've also tuned the kick drum to the pitch of the song I'm doing right now. Muting and demuting the 008, because I've got these squares on the keyboard on a little controller mapped, and I'm going to shape the kick here. I'm adding in a little bit more attack. So you can hear that it's got a little bit more punch. Bam, bam, bam. Everything in moderation. I keep saying it. Don't be in a hurry. Let's add my ARP back in. And again, call or response. So where I sped up the groove with more notes on the arpeggio when I brought that in, the DFAM bass is even playing faster notes. So you got that spans over 4. 1, 2, 3, 3, 4. Within 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then the DFAM is faster. 1, 2. Boom. So I'm doing fractions. I'm dividing my groove to go faster and faster, so that everything follows that 16th sort of like groove. It's a trick. Try it out. Do not be overwhelmed by the amount of equipment you see me using. You can actually do this with one drum computer and one synthesizer, and at Learn to Play.lives, after 32 weeks, you will be able to play 30 minutes of a convincing DAWless live set. Playing around with saturation on my hi-hats. Now I'm going to add in a bit of a DJ style transition trick, obviously. If you DJ, you know how a Pioneer mixer works. This is something that's not new to you, and you can do it in the modular world by using the Oxy Meta, which is a module that can do that. There's a few things in there: filter, reverb, there's a gator, and I'm using the white noise. That worked. But what I sneakily done is I swapped one top loop out for another one. So actually another top loop is playing off the 1010 black box. Now let you in on a secret. I'm gonna take out the bass line, and I'm adding in new melodic content for the next track. So I'm preparing myself. But here's where the mistake is. I'm trying to add that extra bass note that's an accent boom, 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 bum, doot, 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 bum. That's coming off the Erica Synths Percons. And for the sake of, I don't know what, I just can't get it to pitch in tune. For some reason it's on a chord or on a scale, and I just can't get it in. So here I'm taking out the decay on the kick drum. It doesn't work. So pitch it up all the way, get it out of the way. There you go. Sometimes that happens. Okay, you can hear clearly that I'm going to a different kind of groove, but because of the hypnotizing vocal, you don't really hear it. Add in. Now I love my breaks to contain groove. I'm not going to take out the kick. The kick is playing, but on a very short envelope. So I switched the 008 to the second pattern. That is corresponding to the track that I'm actually going to play. I can't pre-fade to listen to this, so I need to trust that that's happening. Opened up the kick. So we're now well on our way to our second track. Now out of the 1010 black box, one of the stereo outputs is going into the Acid Box 3, and there I can filter open these sounds that you hear. kick out. And now I'm gonna add in an extra vocal. I'm thinking South American music here when I'm adding this stuff in. I need groove to just constantly keep propelling my beat forward. Mind you though, I've never done this set before. This is also a mistake. I'm on the wrong pattern in the 1010 black box, so the bass line is not playing. Now I know that I'm on the right pattern because I have this way too loud sound programmed on the next pattern on the 008 that I now switched. So I've got this hypnotizing note again. It plays something rhythmical and musical at the same time. Add in the bass line. This is CIA work. I said it often. The better you do what you do, the less people are going to notice it. If people notice what you're doing, it's not working. Let's intensify. Watch closely. I'm going to tweak the kick drum again so that when it comes back in, it's going to have a little bit more of an impact. First, the polycinematic, making the sound longer and the reverb a little bit wider. And also the oxymeta, putting in some white noise. Here's the kick tweak, a little bit more attack. Now the kick should be slightly bigger again. And the trick is to not play the music here, just to go in straight with the kick drum, that vocal bit, the vocal chops, and just keeping everything on the adrenaline. Right now we know what's happening. This is the backbone of the track. Taking out a little bit of that length on the sound, coming back in with the melody. One of the coolest things I love about performing live is that you have to think ahead. My open hi-hat pattern is playing. I turn it off because I'm going to change it to something else now. So I'm doing that on the IntelliGel Steppy. So now I've already got a different hi-hat pattern prepared. Meanwhile, I'm going to play another sound coming off the 1010 black box. Unfortunately, this sound is way too soft. And as levels change as you're performing, I now have to go into the 1010 black box, go to the volume page and turn up this sound. Now, this is cool. I think that this is the level that I want to run with. Okay, let's set myself up for another step. And I love different elements in the song. So I'm going to switch from where I was just now to another theme, a little bit more dramatic. Once you get a little bit more confident, you are going to actually do stuff that people don't even notice. I've switched my pattern on the RK008, but I'm not sure if I'm on the right bass line, so I'm gonna demute it. Listening to it on the mixer, yes, it's the same key. Now I'm gonna set myself up to enter that as the next step. So the bass line's gonna come in full throttle and working the filter here. setting myself up for the next track. So I'm going to work my transition into track number 3, taking out the music of the black box and the bass line's also off. So what we have now is beats. In DJ terms, that would be the transition, but the outro and the intro beats where you mix on a club sound system. Basically, I hear a lot of DJs make the mistake that there's no musical or hypnotic information anymore. So I keep these vocal bits, that chop vocal and the sheer crazy panic vocal, keep it running. And I'm using the DFAM as a hypnotic vibe to transition. A problem that I need to solve right now is I need to go to a different page on my 1010 black box, which means all the samples that are playing right now, the top loops and those vocals, are going to be off, which is going to lead me into the problem that I just explained to you. And that's not ideal. So I'm thinking, how am I going to do it? So I need to build up a little bit more of the stuff that can run, which is just the DFAM and just the modular. And do you remember that open hi-hat that I programmed a while ago? It's about time to add that in because we're going to build in a little bit more adrenaline. Now, word to the wise, when you're enthusiastic, don't start pushing the sounds into the room very aggressively, because if you transition, you have to also take them out. And if they're so dominant that they're playing a leading role, it's very hard to convincingly transition. I've done it a little bit here, to be honest. So I now need to take out these two hypnotic loops, but instead of taking them out, I'm gonna add more drums in. So the 808 snare drum, I've just added that. And meanwhile, I'm distracting you with the DFAM, opening up the filter, closing the filter. Now I'm getting my bearings. Thinking, okay, that's on the filter. Nice, Lucien. Why did you not stick the other one also on the filter, that other vocal? So yeah, okay. So I'm thinking, how am I going to do that? Take the kick out. That's also very important, because that's going to be the loudest screamer on the dance floor. So. Boom. Mask the one vocal, I turn it off while I put a kick back in, so that's one problem solved. Now the other one, which is not on the filter, how can I take it out of this equation here? Boom. A long note, just demuted the polycinematic, and while the reverb is running, I took out that hypnotic vocal bit. Now I only need to take out these two top loops that I've conveniently hidden behind the hi-hats that are playing out of the modular. So if I take out my top loops, you shouldn't be hearing it too much. Let's see if it works. Yep, the hi-hats are conveniently taking care of it. So now, quick fast going into the 1010 black box. I'm on a different bank right now, which nobody's noticed, because obviously when the kick is playing, it doesn't matter. Play the polycinematic again as a bit of an atmospheric thing. Turn up the BPM on the multi-clock, because the DFAM really lends itself to speed up your track. I've actually played a top loop now, which is a bit on the soft side, so turning it up. And the other one also. So the top loops are playing off the 1010 black box now. I think I'm gonna increase the BPM a little bit more, I think. That's the top loop. So I'm trying to figure out what the music is, but unfortunately, what I didn't do is make sure that I got separate MIDI outputs on the 008. So now whenever I play the mini tower, unfortunately, the polycinematic is also going to play, so I need to sort that out. Now, still adding in a little bit of volume on these loops. Right, okay, so now I've got my music playing. Now I can set myself up to think like, okay, how am I going to do it? The sound of the 1010 black box is going through the Acid Box 3 filter, so I've got a lot of range still. And I'm lucky, my DFAM is also tuned somewhat in the same key. There's the kick. So we're in business. Track number 3. again tweaking the kick more, pitching it, and putting more decay on there, more attack. So all the while, every new track, I'm building up a little bit more adrenaline on the kick. Nothing too noticeable, but you'll feel it. Yes. This looks like I know what I'm doing, but I'm actually figuring out what sounds are playing where. Now, with these atmospheric hypnotizing things, it gives you some time to contemplate your next move. Very important. Long, airy vocals, they always work. Everybody's hugging the speaker and praying to God that that moment's not gonna fade away. All right. Now we're gonna add in our theme. Fourth chord scheme. Playing around with the vocal. Do you hear how the DFAM is now a catalyst in the background? Boop, 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 boop. Very Balearic. Very atmospheric. I'm nearly through in the kick. I thought, okay, let's leave it. Because my Oxy Meta is still open. So I need to turn that off. Right here. I'm going to increase even the white noise more. There you go. A cool part of the Oxy Meta is that everything that runs through it, it takes off low end. So what I've done is that the mixers that I'm using are gonna go in through the Oxy Meta. That's my last step before it goes to the mixer. Except for the kick, obviously, which is going on the mixer separately. And now I still need to figure out how we're going to sort this problem out with all this MIDI playing. By now I didn't notice what the problem is. I'm like, oh no, I hear these wrong notes. I hear that it's the meta. Oh, so I hear that it's the polycinematic. How am I going to solve it? No, it's not a mini tower. So altering my hats. And if you listen carefully, you can see it on the mixer. One of the yellow faders is down. So the stereo out of the modular. These are stupid mistakes that happen, obviously. Woo! Time for some ravey stuff. Figured out that the stereo wasn't playing. Cuckoo. having a big moment here. Now clearly shaping the kick and tuning it to the new track. Okay, top loops are gonna go in, and the hats. Here we go. Still not solved the problem. By now I'm wondering, how long does it take? I figured out what it is. So it took me long enough. Finally I figured out, oh, I need all the tracks that are playing the mini tower on my 008 on a little calculator. All the tracks that are playing the mini tower should not trigger the poly cinematic. So let's go in and put the outputs on output 1. There we go. Second track, output 1. Third track, output 1. So that the fourth track will only trigger the poly cinematic. This is something I should have done before I started deciding I wanted to do a 1 hour set, but you live and learn. Cool, now I can play my bass line finally. Cool, let's introduce the bass line now that we know that it's playing. You see how important it is to have some sort of a hypnotic element playing for you. Jigsaw puzzle, things need to fit. So creating a bit of a moment. But I know that I've got some more music that I'm going to actually add into the equation here. There you go, because I, to be fair, got myself in a bit of a pickle here because that vocal is not supposed to play. So I'm going to turn that off again. Hoping that nobody really noticed it. But this is something that's not supposed to happen like this, obviously. No problem. Let's see. How can we do something else? This works. Ooh, that's a close call here. And to make up for my stupid boo-boo, let's see if I can play something with the polycinematic and record it. Trying to just get the tone to be a little bit louder so that you can hear it. 1 octave up. Okay, this can work. Cool, now I think I know what I want to play, so I'm going to record it in now. Nice. I'm actually going to intensify the sound, doing a little bit of live sound design on the polycinematic here. Do you hear the sidechain, by the way? So I'm taking out the chord progression to make it more hypnotic, which means that bass line's also staying on the same root note. Bum, 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 bum. This is gonna work. Create a bit of hypnotism. Yeah, I'm liking that. Using an effect on the oxymeta. Okay, here we go. Extra snare. Yeah, this works. And the modular forces me to think out of the box. Pun intended. But I mean, there's no more drums. I just need to work it with this. Back when I worked on the computer, I was constantly adding in more stuff and layering stuff. This is old school, man. Just play with what you have and make it work. Time to transition into another track. So I take out the theme so that I can get a little bit more of a groove in a stay in place kind of jumping on the beat kind of vibe. So the bass line plays some boom, bam, 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 that, 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 that. Meanwhile, I'm focusing on the defam. I want the defam to take over. When I take out the bass line, something needs to go. So, focusing on the defam again. Same thing as I did earlier, I need to go to a different bank on the 1010 black box. But unfortunately, these loops are also very loud. So I'm going to add in a bit of a bit of a typical DFAM sounds. And usually I use reverb on the DFAM, but this is the DFAM bare as a bone. Okay. Turn the noise down a little bit. Whoa. Dramatic kick change. Pitch the kick down. Which obviously drastically changes the track. So the top loops are gone. To the 1010 black box. On to the next one. Save the bank I was on. Okay, bank's loaded. Now focus first on the drums. So I'm still altering the kick a little bit. You can hear it. And there's the top loop of the new bank of the 1010 black box. This is the first top loop. Rule of thumb, I'm only using 2 top loops. Except for the first track, I use 3. Building it up. Using the delay on the Oxy Meta. Bam, here we go. I wanted to engage the second top loop, but I was late, so I'm gonna wait for my turnaround. Probably gonna launch it here. Exactly. And it all still fits. The levels are still working. So now I've also switched the RK008, my little calculator. So ideally, my new track should already be running the new MIDI sequences. It was a bit of a bold move to change the pitch of the kick because I don't know what the music is. Which is what I'm gonna find out now. So I'm tweaking and pitching the DFM. Here we go. Track 4 in full and total effect. Building up the same thing again. truly enjoying the fact that I've now found a trick how to use the DFM first as a leading kind of theme, so I can rely on it, and then if I muffle it away, it becomes part of the music. This catalyst is amazing. I love the DFM. You cannot dream this stuff up. Try and make that on your computer. You'll be there programming for days and you will not even get close. So this is important. So again, a lot of Balearic stuff, eerie vocals, dreamy arpeggios. Then at some point, we're going to obviously introduce a big ravey kind of sound because we need adrenaline too. Jumped vocals, they always work. So you have to understand a lot of preparation goes into making those tracks. Obviously, you'll be working a long time trying to figure out what sounds work where. I literally get my sounds everywhere. I'm looking for sounds on different platforms, sounds that I can chop, that I can alter, that I can figure out how to use. And it all needs to come together in the live set. I think that that's going to be the future of electronic performances. A bit of DJing, a bit of production, a bit of sound design, a bit of arranging. Where do you learn it? Those things are all different elements, different professions. But if you do it live, you can master it all. And would you not want to be the master of your own castle? Now, learn to play.live, that's how we're obviously going to do it. That's how we are going to train you how you can do that. You don't need a lot of synthesizers. You don't need to be a professional. This stuff is easily learned, but you have to start somewhere and get the right idea from the get-go. So I don't think that I'm doing a lot of complicated stuff here, but I do think that is something you need to take into consideration. So you have to bet on 3 horses at once. But if that's your routine, obviously that's the way you're going to do it. Big theme going here. Loving it. And the bass line is also building up. So we're loving this. Here we go. This Tuesday, obviously, we're going to have our webinar, 22nd of July. It starts at 8 European time. Tomo is going to be there. Honey Smack is going to be there. It's going to be 3 in the morning for him in Australia. He will be on board. Surko is going to be there. Enrico is going to be there. So it's going to be absolutely awesome. And the topic is going to be, how would you get from start to stage, basically. And I'm going to introduce these guys, and those will be your Learn to Play.live teachers as well. So they're going to actually come from their perspective and tell you on what you can do. There's going to be some nice goodies. Register at learntoplay.live/webinar. learntoplay.live/webinar, because it's going to be a closed link. It's not freely, it's free, but it's not going to be open for everyone to join, so you need to register first. If you made it this far into the video, you, sir or ma'am, are an absolute superstar. Thank you for watching. This concludes our broadcast day, but not without me telling you that if you want to get closer to the community, to me, go to patreon.com/analogkitchen. That in turn gets you access to Discord. You won't be breaking the bank, and you'll be added to an ever-growing, very respectable synth community of people that will actually answer your questions, listen to your demos, and you can get closer to me. LearnToPlay.live. It's the one and only course that teaches people how to perform live without a laptop. A doorless course for people that want to play live. Okay, questions. Do I need a whole setup? No, you can actually do it with one drum computer and one synthesizer, and you'll build it up from there. Do you need to be a pro? No, you don't need to be a pro. As a matter of fact, I'll give you this promise. After 32 weeks of the course that starts in September, you'll be able to play 1/2 hour convincingly of a live set, and people will actually love you for what you do. Now, this Tuesday, we're going to get a little bit into what the vibe is going to be with a webinar that's going to take place at 8 o'clock my time. It's free, so it's not going to cost you anything. But you need to register. You can do that by enrolling at learntoplay.live/webinar. Learntoplay.live/webinar. That's where you can find it. And then you'll get a link to a private place where the webinar is going to take place with Tomo out of Berlin, Della out of Italy, Circo out of Denver, Honeysmack out of Melbourne, and I'm gonna come from Rotterdam. This concludes our broadcast day. Thank you for watching. You'll catch me next week on another video. I'm out.